Growing up, my mom instilled in me a love of reading. Every summer, we would walk the aisles of our public library, and she would pick out wonderful books for me. And I fell in love with these stories. I dreamt of going to Hogwarts, becoming a witch, and being best friends with Harry Potter. I developed my first and forever fictional crush on Percy Jackson and would have given anything for him to be real. As I grew and matured, I found a deep love for timeless novels like Pride and Prejudice, Jane Eyre, and Little Women. I saw myself in Jane and Elizabeth as they longed for changes in their world, laughing at the status quo with grace and poise. I especially identified with Elizabeth Bennet and loved that she was confident and kind and not willing to marry for society's sake. However, the hopeless romantic in me loved that she found her Mr. Darcy. These stories inspired me. They allowed me to dream big and define what my story could be. These stories made me feel all sorts of emotions. They made me laugh and smile. They made me upset, and they even made me cry. Now, there are a lot of days where I feel like Elizabeth Bennet, self-assured and strong, that I can be an incredible influence regardless of my relationship status. However, there are days where I feel much more like her friend Charlotte, specifically in the 2005 film where she justifies her reasoning of marrying the ugly and awkward Mr. Collins and says, "I'm 27 years old, I've no money and no prospects, I'm already a burden to my parents, and I'm frightened." Well, today I'm standing in front of all of you as a young girl from Washington City, Utah. I'm 22 years old, a poor college student with no prospects and a lot of pressure from friends and family to be dating somebody. I often feel like a burden, and I'm frightened. To be standing here in front of all of you, of never finding my own Mr. Darcy and what the future holds, and a million other things. And these fears have kept me curled up and crying in my room countless times. But I've come to the realization that my story is already incredible. I've had once-in-a-lifetime opportunities, traveled the world, and met amazing people. Life has thrown some really cool experiences at me. And today, I want to tell you about one that has changed me the most. As a freshman at Southern Utah University, I signed up for a class called Entrepreneurship Speaker Series. This was a one-credit class, and all I had to do was show up and listen to a successful entrepreneur speak for an hour each week. One of the speakers was named Kat Hoke, and she runs a program called Hustle 2.0. This program specializes in teaching inmates business skills and providing them practical resources to succeed once they're released. I listened to her speak for an hour about men in prison who were worthy of a second chance and redemption. She posed the question, asking us how it would feel if we were forever defined by the worst thing that we had done with no opportunity for grace. And she explained how Hustle 2.0 offered that grace. At the end of her presentation, my professor got up and told us that the school had received funding to send 10 students to a level 4 maximum security prison in Susanville, California. There, these students would have the opportunity to interact and teach these inmates for a day. I watched as every single student in the classroom went forward to put their name on the spreadsheet, hoping that they would be chosen, and I wanted to. But the thought of being an 18-year-old naive girl from southern Utah made me hesitate, and I walked out instead. As I was walking out, I had one of those moments that stops you in your tracks. Something inside of me told me that I needed to put my name down. So, reluctantly, I turned back around, walked into the classroom, and put my name on that spreadsheet and typed, "I loved this presentation because it taught me that business can be used to make a difference and a change in the world, not just a profit." Then I walked out. A week later, I received an email telling me that I had been chosen, and I was terrified. All of the thoughts that had made me hesitate originally came flooding back in full force. I was young. I was a girl from southern Utah. I was a freshman. Why would they dream of taking a freshman? I had no life experience. I couldn't relate to these people. They were criminals. These people are criminals. Am I going to be murdered? Now, this experience happened 4 years ago, and I can't remember every conversation that I had that day, but I can remember a couple of things. I remember how absolutely terrified I was walking into that prison and how changed I felt coming out. Mostly, I remember the sacred feeling I felt in the gymnasium as I walked with, danced with, laughed with, and cried with people who had made terrible choices in their life. The most memorable part of the day was when we participated in an activity called Walk the Line. We were paired with an inmate and told to keep eye contact. When a statement was read that we related to, we took a step forward. I was paired with a prisoner named Rudy. He had been in prison for 2 years, and he was 19 years old, my same age. The activity started pretty simple. We were told to walk if we were nervous to come that day or if we had learned something new, and everybody walked on these. Slowly, the questions became more vulnerable, and I saw my partner walk for a broken family, seeing his father murdered by gang violence, living in poverty, having to raise his siblings by himself, joining a gang because he was searching for belonging, and other really hard circumstances and choices that led him to where he was today. My heart broke as I realized in a really powerful way that my reality of growing up as a young girl in southern Utah, never having to worry about food or safety, always having a roof over my head and very supportive parents, was not the reality for everyone. My perspective changed as I listened to stories of abuse, poverty, death, remorse, failure, and forgiveness coming from both sides of the line, inmate or not. In that moment, I promised myself that I would never say no to hearing somebody's story, even if it was polar opposite to mine. I discovered that I'm passionate about fighting for social change and giving a voice to people who don't often have the opportunity to be heard. I found a desire to bring people together because at the end of the day, people are just people, and we all need each other. Because I said yes to this experience, I now have wonderful friends, Kevin, Rudy, and Michael, that are still serving time in that prison. Because I continue to say yes, I chose to serve a mission for my church, where I grew to love people of very different beliefs, backgrounds, and political views. I have cried with close friends as they've told me their journey of coming to terms with their sexual orientation, and as president of the LDSSA, worked to create events and a space where bridges of understanding can be built and connections made between two groups that Utah society often frowns upon. So yes, I still have a lot of learning and growing left to do, but today I want to invite us all to do one simple thing. Say yes. Say yes to those difficult opportunities, the ones that make you stretch, because those are the stories that we love to read. Say yes to the hard conversations that challenge your perspective and really listen to what that person has to say. Say yes to embracing people's stories. Encourage and empower your mothers, daughters, sisters, and friends to say yes. My narrative is still being written, but I hope that I never forget the people and perspectives, both fictional and real, that have enriched my life story. I hope that I always love and promote the story of humanity. So say yes and find the people, places, and opportunities that make your own story worth reading.